Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
MDC, look.
Hold up. Right at the gate.
Heavenly Father.
You know that.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, while you open that, look, 101, Maduro signed it. Maduro, 2nd of April, Venezuela forever. 6ix9ine, 101 edition.
W6ix9ine, he's home, baby. He's home. He's home. W6ix9ine. I'm just glad he's home, bro. The internet's back. It's going to be funny again. It's going to be awesome again. The GOAT is back.
On April 3rd, 2026, Daniel Hernandez walked out of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn holding a SpongeBob doll signed by Nicolas Maduro and wearing a chain worth around $2 million, moving like nothing had changed. The moment quickly caught attention, with people online questioning what might come next. After everything that had happened, many expected tension or immediate reactions, but instead, things felt unusually quiet. In this video, we're breaking down what led to that moment, what happened behind those walls, and what followed after his release. April 3rd, 2026. The doors of MDC Brooklyn open, and out walks Tekashi 6ix9ine after serving 90 days tied to supervised release violations, including failed drug tests, an unauthorized trip to Las Vegas, missed court timing, and a prior situation at his Florida home involving illegal substances. There was also a 2025 mall incident where a confrontation escalated. He turned himself in on January 6, 2026, during a live stream with Adam Ross, making the situation public from the start. By early April, he was already back out, some saying earlier than expected. What stood out wasn't just the release, but what followed. He returned online almost immediately, celebrating, showing off a custom chain worth over $2 million, and moving as if those 90 days were just a short pause. At least on the surface, there were no visible confrontations or incidents. Nothing that matched what many had predicted.
Yeah, look, you gotta bring you back. Sheesh.
That shit is hard. Hold on, put it on the
Yeah.
Right,
What's that? Is that?
There's a federal floor right here. How you take it up?
Hold
oh
up.
My God.
Pull that hair back. That hair back.
Just put it on top of it. Oh, put the pendant on. How
Yeah.
you go?
And this wasn't the first time expectations didn't match reality. To understand how things got here, you have to go back to the beginning. In 2017, in Brooklyn, Hernandez was a rapper almost nobody noticed. He grew up in Bushwick, dropped out of school, and worked small jobs while experimenting with music. At one point, he was working at a bodega with no industry connections or clear path forward. But he had the internet, and in 2017, that was enough. He posted a photo that quickly went viral. Rainbow hair, grills, face tattoos, including a large 69. The image spread fast, turning him into a meme almost overnight. In November, he released Gummo, produced by Pierre Bourne. Filmed in Brooklyn, the video featured individuals connected to the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods, adding to his image. The track quickly took off, reaching number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and going platinum by March 2018. Within months, everything changed. By early 2018, his debut mixtape Day 69 hit number 4 on the Billboard 200, marking a rapid rise into mainstream success. But one detail stood out. The people in those videos weren't just for visuals. Real connections were forming behind the scenes. By late 2017, Hernandez had ties to the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods through his manager, Kifano Shadi Jordan. Later, in court, he explained the relationship, saying the group provided protection and visibility while he contributed financially and supported operations. It became a mutually beneficial setup. He became part of their financial flow, and they became part of his image. Everything was moving fast, until it wasn't. On November 18, 2018, federal agents arrested Hernandez and several associates. The charges included racketeering, conspiracy, firearms, and drug-related activity, putting him at risk of decades in prison. He initially pleaded not guilty, but the situation quickly escalated.
Nah,
That shit hard. This shit is gas. I ain't gonna lie.
Nah, bro. Shit. That boy looking like 6ix9ine.
That shit look like,
that
huh?
boy look like
Then I
6ix9ine.
said, y'all got 90 days till I'm back. Y'all got all the time for that day. Nigga, what the fuck are you talking about?
On January 23, 2019, just 66 days later, he pleaded guilty to all 9 counts and entered a cooperation agreement, agreeing to testify against individuals he had been publicly connected to. By December 18, 2019, he was sentenced to 2 years, with credit for time served, plus supervised release and community service, an outcome that surprised many. In April 2020, he was released to home confinement due to COVID-19 and health concerns. Instead of stepping away, he returned online. On May 8th, he went live on Instagram and drew over 2 million viewers. Shortly after, he released Gooba, which generated over 40 million views in 24 hours. Rather than avoiding attention, he leaned into it, staying active online, engaging with trends, and using controversy to remain relevant. In October 2024, he turned himself in again over supervised release violations, including failed drug tests and an unauthorized trip. He served 45 days and was released without major developments. A similar situation followed in January 2026, tied to another incident and additional violations, this time serving 90 days. Before that sentence, in an interview with Vlad TV, he was asked whether his public image and past cooperation could affect him while serving time. He didn't appear concerned, carrying himself like someone who had been through it before. He completed the 90 days and walked out again on April 3rd, 2026. Once again, the moment passed without the kind of immediate reactions many had expected. And that's where the focus shifts, not just on what happened, but why reality kept looking different from predictions. To understand that, you have to look deeper into what happened in court.
Yo, let me say this, man. 2018 6ix9ine, undefeated, bro. Yo, he had the biggest security guards in history, and he got the cops. And he got the killers. He got everything. The way he was moving, he might even have the judge with him. Yo, 6ix9ine had the whole municipality with him. 2 firemen, 8 cops, 3 lawyers, judge over there. Yo, you can't with him. Come on, man.
This wasn't basic cooperation. It was a detailed breakdown of an entire organization from the inside, described by someone directly involved. Prosecutors even called it extraordinary in official filings. The case, United States versus Jones et al., targeted the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods in New York. On November 18, 2018, federal agents arrested Hernandez and several associates, filing charges tied to racketeering, conspiracy, firearms, and drug activity. The stakes were high, with potential decades in prison. He initially pleaded not guilty, but by January 23, 2019, just 66 days later, he pleaded guilty to all 9 counts. What changed everything wasn't just the plea, but the level of cooperation. He provided detailed insight into how the group operated, including leadership roles, communication, and decision-making, even from incarcerated members, giving investigators a clearer understanding of its structure. He identified Jamel Mel Murda Jones as a central figure and described his manager, Kafano Shadi Jordan, as holding a high-ranking role. He also placed other members within a clear hierarchy, helping investigators better understand how the organization functioned. His cooperation continued during testimony in September 2019. Over several days, he spoke under oath about incidents he was connected to, including situations involving financial support or direct involvement. He described conflicts and activities tied to the group's operations at the time. He also explained how decisions were made, approved, and carried out behind the scenes. When discussing his own role, he didn't minimize it. He acknowledged his involvement was tied to career growth and public image, and that the relationship worked both ways for a period. At the same time, he drew a distinction. According to his testimony, he separated situations involving uninvolved individuals from those tied to people he believed had acted against him personally. That perspective shaped how he framed everything that followed. He also claimed the situation went beyond business, pointing to personal betrayals, including issues involving people close to him, and conversations captured on federal wiretaps suggesting plans against him. Whether believed or not, he consistently returned to that point. The impact of his cooperation became clear in the outcomes. He testified against Anthony Harv Ellison, who was later convicted and sentenced to 24 years in federal prison. Aljermiah Nuke Mack received around 17 years, while others, including Mel Murda, Ish, Crippy, and Kuda B, accepted plea deals with multi-year sentences. Shadi was sentenced to 15 years, with phone evidence playing a key role. In an interview with Vlad TV, when asked about Shadi's sentence, he showed no hesitation, speaking as someone who stood by his decisions. The reaction across the industry was immediate, with artists like Snoop Dogg, Meek Mill, Future, 50 Cent, Boozy Badazz, and Vince Staples all weighing in. Diss tracks began circulating, radio support declined, and venues became more hesitant to book him. Across podcasts, social media, and YouTube, the same narrative repeated, that his situation would eventually catch up to him. In 2023, an incident in a Florida gym brought those conversations back into focus. He was approached and attacked by a group, later hospitalized, and the individuals involved were arrested. The footage spread quickly, with many viewing it as a turning point. But he recovered, took legal action, and continued publicly. His behavior didn't change much. In August 2025, a confrontation at a South Florida mall escalated into a physical altercation, violating his supervised release and contributing to the legal issues that led to his 2026 sentence. When asked about it later, he showed little regret. Looking at everything, the gym incident, mall situation, and ongoing criticism, these moments were real, but they didn't happen immediately or follow the timeline many expected. Instead, events unfolded gradually, with long, quiet periods in between. None led to the outcome people kept predicting. Which brings it back to the central question: why did reality play out so differently? For years, there was a belief that certain actions always led to fixed consequences, regardless of status or visibility. Many spoke as if the outcome was already decided. But reality proved more complex. Back in 2020, while many believed he couldn't move freely, something unexpected happened. In a Brooklyn neighborhood, he filmed a video openly, with people around him treating it as normal. When that footage surfaced alongside Hassan Campbell, one person explained why, and his point cut through years of opinions. Others pushed back, but he continued, not defending anyone, but pointing to something deeper: consistency. He pointed to situations in his own neighborhood where individuals who had cooperated in the past were still present, active, and treated normally. People saw them, spoke to them, and chose not to revisit their past. Not because the situations were different, but because of their current influence, connections, and value. That was the key point. It wasn't about right or wrong, it was about patterns. The so-called code didn't apply consistently. Outcomes shifted based on relationships, status, and visibility. The reaction towards 6ix9ine was louder and more public than what others faced in similar situations. But the underlying dynamic wasn't entirely different. The rules didn't disappear, they adjusted. That idea was summed up as selective enforcement. Similar situations could lead to different outcomes depending on who was involved. Someone with strong ties might be treated one way, while a highly visible figure faced a different response. That contrast became central to understanding what followed. In the end, it wasn't just about cooperation, it was about visibility and the role of money. After returning to the spotlight, the environments that allowed him to film weren't necessarily showing loyalty. They were responding to attention. Being around him brought views, recognition, and sometimes financial gain. When asked if the same access would exist without money or attention, the answer came quickly. But it was clear his name carried value. Reports suggested that Kodak Black received significant payment for collaborating with him. Others who had distanced themselves still engaged behind the scenes, while some avoided it not out of principle, but due to how it might be perceived. At the same time, voices like Lil Woody added another layer. During a period of heavy public pressure, he spoke directly to 6ix9ine with a grounded message. Once a label is attached, it doesn't easily go away. That idea shifts the conversation. If a label can't be removed, then trying to fix things through reactions or pressure doesn't hold up. It becomes less about changing the past and more about how it's interpreted moving forward. What makes it more complex is that none of this was hidden. The cooperation wasn't speculation. It was documented in federal court records, covered by outlets like the New York Times, and detailed in official filings. It became permanent public record. And it seems 6ix9ine understood that early. Instead of distancing himself, he approached it differently. Over time, he reshaped the narrative and used it as part of his public identity. In interviews, including with Angie Martinez, he explained his perspective step by step. He pointed back to 2018, referencing incidents, internal conflicts, and situations that, in his view, showed things had already broken down before any cooperation. He also mentioned earlier interactions with federal authorities, suggesting it had been developing behind the scenes. By the time he cooperated, he described the situation as already beyond repair. From his perspective, it no longer felt like a choice between loyalty and survival, because that loyalty no longer existed. That mindset shaped everything that followed. In the end, his view of loyalty had changed. He believed it had already been broken long before it became public, and based on that, he refused to carry guilt. That created a dynamic many struggled to process. Because when someone doesn't accept that they've done something wrong, the expected reactions don't land the same way. And for some observers, that wasn't surprising. One person in that Brooklyn footage spoke from years of experience, pointing out a pattern he had seen repeatedly. In his view, outcomes weren't determined by actions alone, but by factors like influence, resources, and position. According to him, individuals with money or strong connections were often treated differently, not because the situations changed, but because the context did. That idea brings everything back to April 3rd, 2026, when 6ix9ine walked out of MDC Brooklyn wearing a multi-million-dollar chain and holding a SpongeBob doll. The moment had already been widely discussed. The attention was there, and the story had been public for years. Yet the moment passed without the reaction many expected. Looking back, earlier situations had already hinted at this. The same environments that allowed him to move freely showed that reality was more complex than the narrative. As that observer explained, this wasn't new. It was part of a larger pattern that existed long before and would continue after. The idea of a consistent code didn't always hold up. In a world shaped by visibility and influence, factors like money, relevance, and public stance played a role. Not because people agreed, but because it's difficult to impose judgment on someone who doesn't accept it. And that's what makes this story stand out. It shows how expectation and reality don't always align. If you made it this far, drop a like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts.